Hello everyone, I am the original Geek Nerd Villain, coming at you with the Black Mentality Forum. Going to complete the series that I wanted to complete last month, and now it's going on this month. The Black Intelligence Month Book Recommendation Series. 8 books, 8 percolators for the black mind and to all respecting. Let's start off with Miseducation of the Negro by Carter Godwin Woodson. This was published in about 1932, 1933, and some of these elements of this book still ring into today, even though this is if I'm not mistaken, 70-some-odd-year-old publish. So let's dive in to the points. I got 10 points basically, and I'm just going to discuss my understanding of what those points are. So all these will be all anecdotal discussions as well. Not much, they're not reviews, they're just recommendations, and I'm just giving you passages in the book to show why you should read it for yourself. Passage 1. The most imperative and crucial element in Woodson's concept of miseducation hinged on the education system's failure to present authentic Negro history in schools and the bitter knowledge that there was a scarcity of literature available for such a purpose, because most history books gave little to no space of the black man's presence in America. And because of that, this is why I'm doing this, because we can't wait on politically found educational institutions to tailor their education, whatever they got in their school system towards you. You got to do that yourself. You're paying taxes to the buildings and such, and paying taxes for the educational textbooks, but that same tax money cannot put the right education for your child want to be educated about. And you just get tired of the Eurocentrism that's still there. Okay? Okay? As much as you want to talk about Henry VIII and Napoleon and Constantine, little to no European history, unless it's about the game nowadays, how to play the game nowadays, how to play the neo-colonialist game nowadays, has much to do with me. Another reason why I'm doing this, there's a mentality that creates a reality. So I need the mentality. We need the mentality. We need the mentality before we recreate the reality. Cause we in a Eurocentric mentality, which is a Eurocentric reality. Okay. Another issue that the book addresses. Going on to point passage 2. Highly educated Negroes denounce persons who advocate for the Negro, a sort of education different in some respects than now given the white man. Negroes who have been long inconvenienced and denied opportunities for the development are naturally afraid of anything that sounds like discrimination. Now, yeah, I used to be one of those sensitive black people that wouldn't talk about it in non-black circles. At the same time, we got to talk about it because we got to be the ones to address it. We got to be the ones to address our problems. Because what makes you think anybody else is going to address it? Well, that's what it is. That's what it is. We got to, and highly educated. To me, highly educated, can you use that education to do what you got to do for your own neighborhood? Can you implement that education in your own local setting? That's why I see higher education is, because we can't be afraid to discuss the issue when the issue is still continuing to be censored and downplayed and watered down, in a sense whitewashed, in a sense to where it doesn't matter. But at the same time, those people are doing that. On the flip side, they say all lives matter. So let's go on to the third passage. As another has well said, to handicap a student by teaching him that his black face is a curse and that his struggle to change his condition is hopeless is the worst sort of lynching. It kills one's aspirations and dooms him to vagabondage and crime. It is strange then that the friends of truth and the promoters of freedom have not risen against the present propaganda in the schools and crushed it. Because if ignorant black people make dollars, then ignorant black people make sense. Elements of the slave days are still pervading to today. And we got to address those elements. We got to get those elements out. This is modern day lynching. Inferiorization is modern day lynching. Not telling a person about your culture, but not being able to have them explore their own, and you saying that the information that they got is not accurate because because of where they got it from doesn't abide by your political institutions. Probably it don't, because politics is, when it comes to information and education and stuff, politics and it makes it like a cookie cutter type deal. This ain't no cookie cutter education that I'm giving you. This ain't no cookie cutter books that I'm giving you. You gotta look this up for yourself. That's if you're willing. Passage 4. In the study of language in the schools, pupils were made to scoff off at the Negro dialect as sort of a peculiar possession of the Negro, of which they should despise rather than to directed to study the background of the language as a broken down African tongue. In short, to understand their own linguistic history, which is certainly more important for them than the study of French phonetics or historical Spanish grammar. To the African language, as such, no attention was given except in the case of preparation of traders, missionaries, and public functionaries to exploit the natives. This number of persons thus trained, of course, constituted a small fraction of hardly deserving attention. So, that passage said that language, African language, or black language, and indigenous aboriginal language, because I want to get into case studies on how black people are the indigenous peoples of the planet, are the indigenous aboriginal peoples of the planet, and such. That the language, fine arts, the medicine, history, that's still not being put in the schoolhouse. It's just a modern day post-colonial deal that's being put in the schoolhouse nowadays. Not no original cultural language, fine arts, medicine, history, pastime. That's not being implemented into the schoolhouse. That you're going to have to find out yourself. And this is what I'm putting towards you, to saying that that Mr. Woodson is saying that it hasn't been implemented in the schoolhouse in the 30s, 40s. So, and I'm not seeing it being implemented in the schoolhouse now. Eurocentrism is still there. Even after my decade and a half or so being out of the schoolhouse, it's still there. It's still there, but we gotta address it. We gotta address it ourselves now. We gotta address it ourselves. And the first schoolhouse is the house. Number 5. Real education means to inspire people to live more abundantly, to learn, to begin life as they find it and make it better. But the instruction so far given Negroes in colleges and universities has worked to the contrary. In most cases, such graduates have merely increased the number of malcontents who offer no program changing the undesirable conditions about which they complain. One should rely upon protest only when it is supported by a constructive program. Yes, and Mr. Woodson is right when it comes to real education. Real education should make you live better and not live worse. it should better your situation. It should better your circumstance. And I think even though this, to all black people, this is not no money making. Well, no. I mean, information, not knowledge is money if you know how to implement it. If you know how to monetize it. I mean, anything can be monetized nowadays. Anything can be monetized nowadays. If it makes dollars, it makes sense. At the same time, when it comes to education, when it comes to upgrading and updating your mentality to the reality, that's what real education is supposed to do. It's supposed to better yourself. And I'm doing it, and I'm using this real education. This is real education to me. Got 8 books talking about black real education, black mindedness. Finally eliminating that Willie Lynch syndrome. And all what slavery done did, we finally patched it up and implemented it into a curriculum, an educational curriculum, because that's what it need. That's what is needed. A change of mind, a change of mentality, and we go towards passage 6. Talking the other day with one of the men now giving the millions to build 4 Negro universities in the South, I find he is of the opinion that accredited institutions can be established in the mushroom fashion with theorists out of touch with the people. In other words, you can go almost anywhere and build a $3 million plant and place in charge a white man to do what you want to accomplish. And in short, while he can secure or have trained to order the man necessary to take a university, quote, we won't hear, he will say, quote, a man who has his master's degree in English, send me another who has a doctor's degree in psychology, and I can use one more in physics. The second paragraph. Now, this experience may show the men of this type may fill in, but a university cannot be established with such raw recruits. The author had some experience in trying to man a college in this fashion, and the result was a story that will make a interesting headline for the newspapers. I'm not going to go on any further, but my title of that point was The Illusion of Education with Accredited Institutions. You can have the titles, whatever title basically that you have, and you put all the people with all the titles up in there, but if you just determine it off of titles, what they got, I mean, we'll determine it off of work ethic. We'll determine everything off of work ethic, people. We'll determine everything off of work ethic, because that's what education requires of work, not just a sophisticated mindset. And yes, we can put all the qualified people in the institutions all we want to, if they do not simplify that sophisticated mentality that they got in order to put it in their students' mind and better their students' life and better educate their students' life. It's all for naught. It's all just a rat teaching another rat to run the race. That's really all it is. The expedient path versus the hot path. That's the title of point 7. The educated Negro, from the point of view of commerce and industry, then shows no mental power to understand the situation which he finds. He has apparently read his race out of that sphere, and with the exception of what illiterate Negroes can do blindly, the field is left wide open for foreign exploitation. Foreigners see this as opportunity as soon as they reach our shores and begin to manufacture and sell to Negroes, especially things as caps, neckties, and house dresses, which may be produced at a small cost and under ordinary circumstances. The main problem with the Negro in this field, however, is salesmanship, where he is weak. Let me read the passage before that, a few sentences before that passage. The thought of immediate reward, short-sightedness, and the lack of vision and the courage to struggle and win and fight made them failures to begin with. They are unwilling to throw aside their coats and collars and do the groundwork of Negro business and thus make opportunities for themselves instead of begging others for a chance. Yeah, this ain't easy. This is me doing this. These are just steps. Doing my own thing and everything, and God, Mr. Wilson's hitting home when it comes to it. Foreign exploitation, having everybody else sell our products to us so they can get money, so they can live it up and do for them and they peoples. Yeah, we gotta stop that nonsense. I mean, if exploitation is a part of the problem. If you want to sell to, we got to establish like some type of standard. If anybody wants to sell to black people, you got to sell to black people the products that black people want, not the products that you can make money off of. Not monetization of the black problem, which is nothing more than exploitation. There needs to be an economic standard concerning black people and black commerce and the black dollar. There needs to be, I think that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing with Passage 7. And along with Passage 8 as well, there needs to be a black economic standard established. Passage 8. The business among Negroes, too, continues individualistic in spite of advice to the contrary. The founder does not take kindly to the cooperative plan, and such business education as we now give to the youth do not make their suggestions to this effect convincing. If the founder happens to be unusually successful too, the business may outgrow his knowledge and becoming too unwieldy in his hands, and go to pieces by errors of judgment or because of mismanagement, or it may go to the hands of whites, which are usually called in at the last hour to do what they call refinancing, but really means actually taking over the business from the Negroes. Negroes then finally withdraw their patronage because it's realized that it is no longer an enterprise of the race, and the chapter is closed. Yeah, it's hard to do business with fellow black people when we're not coming together with one mind about the situation. We're not coming together with one mind about the entrepreneurial endeavor. We got and black businesses that have been established and that their managers have to pass the torch. They probably haven't passed the torch or gave enough information for the next generation to get the torch passed, and that black dynasty, that black empire just falls through. And I think the individualistic deal is just getting black people on one mind, one mentality when it comes to an entrepreneurial endeavor. It's just getting black people on one mind. And I think if we read the right books, if we all read the same books, that we could come together as one mind, because we all got the same mind because we done read the same books. Passage 9. The lack of qualified teachers in Negro schools of theology, however, is altogether not the fault of the teachers themselves. It is due largely to the system which they belong. Their schools of theology are impoverished by their unnecessary multiplication, and consequently the instructors are either poorly paid or not compensated at all. Many of them have to farm, conduct enterprises, or pastor churches to make a living trying to teach. Often, only the inefficient can be retained under such circumstances. And yet those who see how they have failed because of these things nevertheless object to the unification of the churches as taught by Jesus of Nazareth, whom they all but cease to follow because of their sectarian bias obtained from the thumb-worn books of misguided Americans and Europeans. Somebody has to give me some information on a predominantly black school of theology. I haven't heard of any as of yet. But I do understand when what they're talking about when they're saying it's just filling up seats, and it is just filling up church seats, not really teaching a message of spiritual development. It's just filling up seats. It's just a religious institution. I mean, majority of Christian churches nowadays, they ain't spirit houses, they religious institutions. And that's just with all other religions. I mean, and being that they're religious institutions, they're not, to me, it makes them no different than government buildings. There is some research that says that all churches are government buildings. We're going to hit on that. We're going to hit on that deal in the Black Mentality Forum as well, how churches are government buildings as well. All right, I got 2 more points and we're going to conclude. As evidence of the depths to which the institution has gone, a resident of Cincinnati reported a case of its exploitation by the railroad man who lost his job and later all his earnings in the game of den. We'll skip that paragraph. We'll go to the next paragraph. The large majority of Negro preachers of today then are doing nothing more than to keep up the medieval hellfire scare, which the whites have long since abandoned, to emphasize the humanitarian trend in religion through systemized education. The young people of the Negro race could be held in the church by such program, but the Negro's Christianity does not conceive of social uplift as a duty of the church, and consequently Negro children have not been adequately trained in religious matters to be equal to the social demands upon them. Turning their back on medievalism, then, these untrained youth think of taking up nothing but moonshining, gambling, and racketeering as occupations, as they find great joy in smoking, drinking, and fornication as diversions. They cannot accept the old ideas, and they do not understand the new. So, yeah, we can. If it ain't about Christ consciousness, then it really ain't about Christ, if you ask me, in Christianity. I mean, I don't. We got to understand that Jesus was man and God, and when I say man and God, we got to understand that he was both of man and of God, but as man, he didn't get his godhood. He didn't get his godhood. He didn't get his Christhood. We gonna say his godhood, his Christhood, his anointed self, until he did his studies. Now we're gonna get into all that on. We're gonna get into that on the 18 years of Jesus that has been omitted from the Bible. It's crazy how they can dupe you, how they can dupe an individual. One of the greatest names to ever be heard. To only have 15 years of his life told. 15 of the 33 years of his life told. One of the greatest names in to ever be known, only 15 of his 33 years of his life been told. Wow. Yeah, there needs to be a re-education on Christianity. Bringing the main books and the books that were taken out. We need a update on what it is to be of Christ consciousness. Yeah, I'm not saying Christianity is both. I'm not saying Christianity is a false belief. No. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying Christianity is false at all. All I'm saying about Christianity is there has been a miseducation about it. Last passage. The teaching of government or lack of such instruction then must be made to conform to the policy of keeping the Negro in his place. In like manner, the teaching of Negro history in the Negro area has its political significance. We're going to go down a few sentences to go to the main one, which is the last one. If you control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action. Quote, when you determine what a man shall think, you do not concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept a inferior status, for he will seek it himself. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, you do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told, and if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one. So when you got a people, when you retrograde a people, when you dumb down a people, when you stupefy people, intentionally stupefy people, intentionally subject a people to social mental retrograde, it'll get to a point where they like to be at that down in the rut position, and they're not going to want to change their mentality about the reality. I call it institutionalization. It's what's being done in the jail system, the prison system every day when inmates go for extended periods of time, 4 years plus. 4 years plus. Now that's cool. Now peep this. 4 years is in high school. 4 years is in jail. That 4 years in high school is supposed to change your mind about what you're gonna do in life. 4 years. So with that being said, it should take 4 years in jail, probably even less, to institutionalize an individual. And this 11th passage is one of the reasons why black people are still the highest population in the prison system. Because when you mess up your name and mess up your freedom, it ain't over. Now you've been put into a situation, the indigenous or aboriginal peoples, you've been put into a situation to where the cycle, you're going to continue the cycle. All they just got to do is program you into it. And once you've been successfully programmed, it doesn't matter what type of goals that you got at the point in time. If you can't program your mind to them goals, you're going to be back behind them bars. And some people, it don't even be a game plan. They just want to be back behind them bars because that's their mentality about the reality. That's their standard in life. And that standard must be changed with education, the right education. And this is why I'm here. Now, if you like what I did, you like my recommendation on the Miseducation of the Negro, go ahead and pick it up yourself. Miseducation of the Negro by Carter Godwin Woodson. Facebook, Alonzo Reed. Instagram, The Original Geek Nerd Villain. Discord, The Original Geek Nerd Villain. TikTok, Original Geek Nerd Villain. And Twitter, Boss Chief Papa. Thank you for listening. This is part 1 of the Post-Black Intelligence Month book recommendation series. See you on episode 2 of the Black Mentality Forum, episode 2 of the Post-Black Intelligence Month, which will be Melanin, What Makes Black People Black by Dr. Lalia Africa. See y'all then. Peace out, y'all.